let's talk about Lisa a little bit. Tell us a bit about your love story.
Well, I'll try, even though her version's a little bit different than mine.
It always
But
is. It always is.
I think so, yeah. But yeah, so
How'd you guys meet?
we met at Pizza Hut in Nebraska. I was a young airman. I had just moved out of the dorms into a local apartment, and I was kind of bored. At least it was. I don't know about now, but it used to be in Nebraska. If you were under 21 years old, you really couldn't go to like the clubs or the bars because they wouldn't let you in if you were under 21. And so I didn't really have much to do. And so I was like, well, let me just get a part-time job so I have something to do. And, I can buy more, big speakers for my car or something, because that's what I was into back then.
Right.
And, I went to Pizza Hut, and actually I saw her, I think she was either flipping or making a pizza. And I was like, she's kind of cute. Let me put an application here and try, work here. Little did I know, and this is part of her story that she would share, is when she either saw me pull up or saw me drive away, because her sister also worked at it's a small town, so her entire family pretty much worked at Pizza Hut. They were always trying to like find her a boyfriend, and so she had a boyfriend at the time, but they knew that I was kind of eyeing her a little bit when I was like filling out the application. And so when I drove away, she saw my 2001 Monte Carlo SS with some nice rims on it, and it was like blue and everything. And she was like, I don't want anything to do with him. He's like some kid that's spoiled by his parents paying for his car and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, no, he's in the military. Like he's he's already on his own. And so, we started dating, and when we got married, we like to say that she brought me back to religion, and I brought her to the relationship. Because in 2006, my journey into who Jesus was and my faith, I had never heard about this thing called a relationship with Christ or a relationship with God. But she had been going to church all her life, and I had stopped going to church when I left high school, like many high schoolers do, which is also something I'm working on with the youth group, is to get them motivated to go back to church after they leave the house. So I was learning about this relationship with Christ, and I was into music, like I told you, and I think you read in my bio, right? Like I like karaoke. I still don't really enjoy worship music because I don't really have like a heart of worship. And so I didn't like K-Love. It was like just boring to listen to for me. It just, like I said earlier, I grew up with 50s music, rock and roll, 80s music, the Led Zeppelins, the Van Halens, and all that kind of stuff. In my high school days, I was jamming out to Metallica everywhere I went. Anything on K-Love was just too soft and touchy-feely. And then my friend who brought me to understand this relationship introduced me to people like Red and Lecrae and NF and some of these other Christian rappers and rockers. There's all this music out there. Where has this been in my life? So after that, we continued together to build our relationship and go to church and start learning about who Jesus was, and really build on that relationship that we were both at that point now learning about. And now today, she does at-home daycare. It's her ministry, even though she doesn't really consider it a ministry. But she watches up to 6 kids here in the house. This was a good time to do the podcast because most of the kids are gone by the time we started recording. So
right. And by the way, we're 6 hours difference. Hawaii is 6 hours behind us on the East Coast in Florida, and the East Coast period. And so we had to find our slot. So it was 4 p.m. your time and 10 p.m. my time. And so, and whatever time it is now. So,
well, you're doing great for being this time of night. So,
I did most of my life as a youth pastor and campus life guy. So I was up most nights.
Yeah, fair enough.
Still am. Probably a little different in the military though, because all of your people, all of your families are having to go to bed at dark early and get up at dark early, right? And
right.
Probably the students are a little bit backwards. Not backwards, probably forwards as far as their sleeping habits.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I don't usually sleep much past 6 o'clock because my body just gets me up anyway. I've been doing that for 20 years.
Right. Since you got out of high school, your body was actually adjusting. We talk about the cellular system and the rapid change of the adolescent body And my dad started smoking when he was 9 years of age, and it probably would have killed him to stop. He died when he was 80, possibly because of the smoking with cancer stuff. But he was 80 and he worked hard till he was like the year before, you know. But the cellular system connects and adapts whatever we're throwing at it. And you were still in that adolescent stage at 18 ish and on, and they whooped you right into a 6 a.m. frenzy, didn't they?
Right. Yeah, bedpan and all. Ding, 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 ding.
There you go. That's it, man. How did Lisa come to the same conclusion that you came to, that you guys needed to be in student ministry full time?
Well, honestly, I don't know if she's there yet. She supports, what I do in the ministry, but she's still trying to figure out her role in that. And, maybe that's a learning point for anybody listening to the podcast is sometimes you get the call into ministry and your spouse is trying to keep up or catch up. And so, at this point in our life, this is how I kind of look at it. We both have our own ministry that relates to one another, even though it's not always directly impacted by one another. Know that sometimes you're going to get the calling. And if you already got the calling, your spouse might either be waiting for their own, or they might not feel it the way that you do. And so Lisa's kind of in that boat. Like, she doesn't quite know where she fits in or how she fits in, which I keep on, telling her and, loving on her and saying, you're doing enough just by being my wife and letting me go do all this youth ministry things. She shows up on Wednesday nights to help take attendance, which is great. And she's building on her relational building while she's, oh, yep, you're here, thanks. And it's even harder now with masks on because you only see like this much of somebody's face.
Exactly.
And so she's like, wait, I know those eyes. Yeah, you're so-and-so.
That's right. Please stand 12 feet back and take your mask off. Let me see who I got.
All right. But her ministry right now is, I think, the at-home childcare, the daycare. And now it could be, and there'd be a few years gap in between, but if we were serving somebody who was local and not all military families like we do right now, she would have the child from like birth until, kindergarten. And then I might pick him back up again at 6th grade in the youth group. And then I'd have the kid the rest of the time through 12th grade. So, she does a lot, and she doesn't really like when I brag on her too much. It makes her cry and stuff. But, if she does listen to this podcast, she is definitely a superhero in my book because of everything she does, taking care of the house, being the homemaker, and also being a mom and being a wife and doing the daycare here at the house.